Hello and welcome to The Work Behind the Work. As an MFA judge, I continue to be impressed every year at the calibre of the work. But I also know firsthand that looking at these shiny case studies can often leave you feeling a little intimidated. So today's session is all about the work behind the work. So we're going to hear from Max and Emma all about their not award-winning, we don't know that yet. Finalist case studies. Nick's going to be mad at me because, they are the finalists within their categories, and they're going to tell us a little bit about the blood, sweat and tears that goes on behind campaigns. So whether you're at the beginning of your career and want to understand, how you as an individual can get involved, or some industry veterans that may be in the room, I'm sure there will be some fresh perspectives that you can learn from. So Emma, take it away.
Thank you. I might stand. I'm a bit of a
do.
walker around. So I'll jump in. I'm Emma Baston. I'm the client, the head of partnerships at PMG. I'm the client lead on Swiss. And last year we ran a campaign for Swiss called Healthy Minds. And today I'm going to talk about it for you. So let's start with the objective and the challenge. So Swiss wanted to launch their sleep supplement in market, and they wanted to become the #1 sleep supplement in the first year that they're launching. So great news for Swiss is that Australians are exhausted, and that 2/3 of Australians actually have a health-related sleep problem, with 50% having multiple sleep-related health problems. So you'd think that they would be really keen to be looking at a supplement solution. They are not. They are very sceptical. They prefer over-the-counter solutions, or most Australians just believe that being exhausted is a part of day-to-day life. Can relate. So, we really saw an opportunity to change this narrative and really talk to those exhausted 25 to 36-year-olds around a potential natural solution that could help them feel a little bit more rested in their day-to-day. So obviously when we looked across the media selection and the media behaviour, social media really stood out. Obviously social media is probably to blame for a lot of bad night's sleeps. We've all been guilty of that late night scroll, watching one last cat video before we go to bed at 2 a.m. So, but we knew just being in this channel alone wasn't going to be enough to really create that disruptive conversation we wanted to have. So PMG worked really closely with Swiss's creative agency, Traffic, and hand in hand, we wanted to create an idea to ambush restless social media users. Sounds a bit sinister, doesn't it? And together we created a switch and bait approach that saw media and creative work hand in hand. And off the back of that, the Swiss to Sleep platform was formed, which was all around disrupting restless social doom scrollers late at night at that precise moment when conversations around sleep hit a little bit different. So the whole idea around this switch and bait approach rests solely on our ability to match our audiences and the content so seamlessly that when Swiss's content was in people's social feeds, that it looked like organic content at first glance. So to do this, PMG looked across market signals, cultural interests and lifestyle cues to create 5 core pillars. And then we once again worked really closely hand in hand with Traffic to make sure that they selected content creators that would fit seamlessly into these audiences. So at first glance, it looked like something you might actually consume in your feed. To add further context to this, because we know contextual targeting works so much stronger for us, we had an AM and PM version of this creative as well. So we could not only disrupt those late night doom scrollers, but also the flip side of that, which is really that next day regret when you're exhausted as well. And so Traffic matched some really macro influences with those audience insights that we shared with them. And then off the back of that really was the result of this content that at first glance consumers had genuine interest in consuming. And then obviously a bit of a humorous outtake as they realised the switch and bait, and hopefully, when we called out their unhealthy sleep habits, they found that quite humorous. So now I'll play the video for you for both the PM and the AM creative for Go the Swiss to Sleep.
Here's a quick and delicious recipe for... Wait, what are you still doing up? Stop doom scrolling. Go the to sleep.
Sir, it's late. Should we go to bed?
No, Jason! What are you...
What are you up for? This is just a skit. Quit scrolling and go to sleep. Just do it.
Hold up. It is so late. How long have you been scrolling for? It's time to stop and go to sleep.
Honestly, waking up looking super tired is just not a vibe. Wait, why on earth are you sleep deprived in the first place? The best treatment for sleep deprivation is sleep. So tonight, turn off the phone, get into bed, and go to sleep.
Hold on, what? Tips on how to cheat in a workout. Feeling a bit tired today, are we? Look, workouts are so much easier when you get a good night's sleep, so you can be ready for whatever tomorrow holds. So tonight, put the phone down and go to sleep.
Workdays can be so long and draining, but here's an easy way to sneak in a cheeky nap at work. Oof, secretly sleeping at work? That's not boss energy. You need sleep. A boss has got to be ready for whatever tomorrow holds. Okay, so tonight, no scrolling and go to sleep.
Amazing. Such great creative. And the results. Well, obviously they went really well, otherwise I wouldn't be up here presenting them to you, but it's worth saying in addition to the digital assets you saw there was also an extensive out-of-home and digital audio channels supporting that. So did Swiss claim their #1 position? They did, which was great news, and they also grew their market share by 2% and exceeded their uplift revenue goals as well. We also are running this campaign again this year as well, which is great, and the last outtake I would just leave you with this campaign is really, don't be afraid to lean into a media-centric idea and to lead with that, because it can really lead to some compelling creative that can also really shift your clients' business objectives as well.
Thanks, Emma. Round of applause for Emma. I personally love that case study because as someone who's worked on the vitamin category before, for anyone else in the room, it is a sea of sameness and it is very tough to cut through. So to actually get not only laughs from the crowd, but I'm sure from your audience was a great result. So thank you. Max, over to you.
Thank you. So we'll jump straight into another category that you're probably all familiar with if you've worked in the industry a little while, which is alcohol. So I thought I'd start with a show of hands. Who knows Yellowtail, the wine brand, in the room here? Pretty much everyone. Who drinks Yellowtail? Excellent. This is the exact response I wanted because that's the brief that we've been trying to answer for the last 6 years. It's pretty much in a nutshell, how do we get one of Australia's most well-known but often quite misunderstood wine brands into the hands of social newbies? And social newbies is classic wine category language for people about 25 to 35 who are starting to drink wine but don't necessarily know the ins and outs of the different varietals and everything that's happening in the category there. So it's a brief that we've tried to tackle a couple of times for Yellowtail. But what it really came down for us is we needed to really understand this audience and how we get into the insights behind them. So knowing the audience was a big part of what started to develop this strategy. And we knew that these guys coming into the wine category, they were intimidated by the category and they're actually looking for an approachable brand to help them explore. I think we've all sort of sat there when it comes to a wine menu at a restaurant or something like that and someone goes, who takes the lead here and what's going on here? Most people who don't know the difference between varietals are sort of going to always default to the older person in the room that knows it, and they really wanted someone to help them out in that sort of journey there. But it was also about knowing the brand, because as I sort of just pointed out earlier, Yellowtail isn't necessarily the brand that is going to be competing on the classic tropes of the category, which is provenance, so where your wine comes from, or the prestige of your label. It took a little bit of a while to sort of let Yellowtail sort of let go of wanting to compete in that area. But the research that we have was really interesting because it showed that our personality was actually a real strength of our brand and the fact that we were quite an easy to love brand that sort of came through in that sense as well. And that's where it sort of allowed us to start thinking about where we could start breaking conventions in the category. We could let our easy to love personality take us into environments where other wine brands wouldn't or couldn't go within the category as well. And it was quite an important shift for us and set up a strategy platform that we sort of went into for the next couple of years, which was building preference through personality and actually being a wine brand that embraced that we were an approachable, easy to love brand and how we'd go into the category there. But it wasn't one that we're necessarily going to jump in with 2 feet straight away. So in year 1, we started to test out the territory in there. And this was all about aligning with the biggest personalities on screen. As we'd sort of seen with our audience, no surprise, There is an occasion where a lot of wine brands weren't going into, and it's that a glass of wine on a Wednesday night goes quite well with some reality TV. So we sort of started to test out and buy in and around these properties as a wine brand, and complemented that with outdoor that would sort of upweight around there. Not rocket science as planning, but it was a good way for us to test if this territory was going to work for us as a brand. Once we saw the uplift starting to come through, we then moved into a year 2 strategy, which was shifting from just aligning with the screens to actually becoming the next big reality TV hit ourselves. So this was a bit more collaboration that was needed to get into this space as well. It started with the client realizing that after we'd sort of done successful partnerships with Love Island, that actually maybe Sophie Monk is a pretty good fit for our brand. And they actually went out and took her on board as a spokesperson for Yellowtail as a wine brand. At the same time, we started working really closely with our creative partners, Dig, to figure out how were we going to work with this new ambassador to make it make sense in the category. They came up with a brilliant platform to actually go, well, why don't we just make the creative look like a new reality TV program that was going to launch, and it was all about Sophie Monk trying to find her perfect match from the range of varietals that Yellowtail had as a wine brand. That allowed us to change our strategic approach and evolve it to not just align with reality programs, but change the way we went to launch like a reality TV program. So we started shifting into large format outdoor billboards that you see when new content's coming out. We bought into the types of tentpole programs that a lot of new launch TV shows, sort of, if you've ever seen how Channel 9 uses the AO to launch its slate, we went into a strategy around that and changed the way we started buying it. So it was all about launching this new reality program, supported through a lot of different social assets that sort of explain the different varietals and let Sophie show the different personalities. And it all culminated in a really sort of successful and impactful campaign for Yellowtail. So this multi-year approach ended up sort of delivering us being the fastest growing wine in a segment that was actually in decline over that period as well. We're talking about $6 to $10 here, not the most expensive stuff, but it's the highest competitive segment in wine at the moment. We saw an uplift of 21 percentage points in awareness against the audience that we were targeting. Over the period, we saw recommendation against this group increase by 8 percentage points as well. Importantly for us, buyer share increased 9%. So that's the share of the different segments that were going in there, which said that our strategy was on target and hitting this audience. And that resulted in sales growth of 7.4% in a category that actually went back 10% over the same period in time as well. So what we really loved about this is it took time to get the client on board with this, and we made sure we tested as we went along and got the territories. But it was a collaboration of everyone coming around the same strategy that we think really sort of drove the results in this campaign as well. The good news is it hasn't stopped there. We've been greenlit for season 3, so that's currently in development to see what we'll do next with Sophie Monk.
Thank you, Matt. Big round of applause for Matt. Cool. I'm sure the die-hard Yellowtail fans in the back will be watching for season 3. So thank you. So last few minutes, we're just going to dig in a little deeper. I guess therapy session for all the years you've worked on it. I guess, Max, it's a rare opportunity for us to all hear, long-term results is my favourite category, but because the persistence over years, but it also, it involves a client relationship as well to actually retain the client. But I guess you talked about all the positives. Mm-hmm. What was the biggest barrier in keeping it going year on year?
I think people who have all had long-term client relationships know that ideas don't happen straight away. I think even seeding the idea of Yellowtail stepping into personality and going against that was probably about 5 years in the making. Mm-hmm. They're a long-term client of ours. Thankfully, we've worked with them for 10 years. But we had that trust platform, then we had to seed the idea over a few years before they really decided to buy in and move into that territory. So I think it's that level of trust and collaboration, but also not trying to sell this massive idea straight away. We're like, let's just target the territory and see if it resonates with the audience. If we see the results that we want from an awareness perspective, then we can move into that as well. So time and patience is sort of in the mix for that as well sometimes.
Which is quite a rare commodity these days, isn't it? But yeah, I take from there that you really want to, you can always frame it as a test, and that will help you kind of edge in with the client.
Yeah.
Great. And Emma, with our last couple of minutes, I guess, for everyone in the room, if someone's sitting there and going, oh, next year I really want to nail this, I really want to get a campaign up in the big lights of the MFA, or some work I'm proud of, what would be the one piece of advice you would have for the individuals in this room?
Yeah, I would say it's a tough one to pull off, but really start to think how you can get media ideas further upstream in the conversation. Mm-hmm. I think so often, we're working in silo, the media agency and the creative agency, and then we come together at the last moment. How can we start to influence? Media sits on so much information that's so valuable to the creative agency, and it can even start with, simple things like hashtag trends or insights we see of a certain duration of content, etc., all the way up to more strategic pieces. But just how do we get those seed some ideas earlier on, and then we can start to work together and come at a really collaborative approach, I think is really the best way of pulling off a big, amazing idea, I would say.
Nice. And I think everyone will see the similarities between the two case studies. That collaboration with partners has to be at the heart of it. And 100%. Helps get that storytelling across in the right way.
Agreed.
Excellent. Well, I think we're bang on time. So thank you everyone for your attention and hope you've learned a lot. Thanks, guys.